Hello.
Are we live?
Yep. Let's
Great.
give time to
But I think also,
the ladies.
yeah, also the disclaimer.
Yes. Let's see. Hello, Florette. Let me see. Oh, Simonetta. Hello. Leslie est là. Leslie, est-ce que tu nous entends bien? Send like a thumbs up.
A thumbs up.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just with the
please,
good hair.
Please send a thumbs up,
Shut up.
not a thumbs.
Okay, but okay, Larissa is here. We're just okay. You know what, guys? We're just gonna wait for Larissa to just give us the green light to go ahead. I think we might be waiting for a few of the ladies that are that own this account, the Black African Women in Christ account. Okay, we can go. Thanks, Larissa. Okay. Perfect. Okay, good. So,
The disclaimer first.
okay, put the disclaimer, it's fine.
Okay, it's the first time we're ever doing
A live.
a live. So before this, there was a lot of panic attacks,
Yes.
anxiety,
Yeah.
high blood pressure. So bear with us, please.
Yes, exactly. So be kind to us. So maybe let me just start with the reason why they asked me to take over the account. So the Black African Women in Christ, what they've been doing for the last couple of months is to get ladies, African ladies, to take over their account, usually on Fridays, and just to show the regular life of an African woman and the kind of I don't know what we do, what kind of interest do we have, what kind of struggles do we go through, anything about us. So this is a platform that was created just to celebrate Black women. And I felt that it wouldn't be complete if I didn't talk about one of the biggest elements of my life for the last 3 years, going to 4 in December, without discussing the topic of marriage. So what we've done, we've put together a list of 6 topics that we want to discuss in relation to marriage. And what we're going to do is we hope to get through all 6 in the next hour. So because, guys, Jessie likes to talk, so I'm going to be the timekeeper just to make sure we address all 6 topics. Okay, so the first one, we wanted to start just by introducing ourselves, but also what attracted us to each other. Go.
Okay. What attracted me to Steffi? Yeah? So I think, firstly, I would like to start with, I think I'll start with reputation. So I'll go reputation, then I'll go to other things. So reputation, Steffi had an opportunity to work with my sister for an event that took place in Burundi. It was the first TEDx talk in Burundi. Yeah? So my sister, Garance, is someone that I'm very close to. So every time I go through something I like or someone I have an interest in, I always ask her if she knows of the person. And I think after asking Garance about Steffi and Garance just saying only great things about her, was, I think, one of the things that really, attracted me. I think that reputation. But I think it's not only Garance; it was everyone that actually was speaking to me about Steffi, and that's one. I think maybe you do one, and then I'll do another one.
Okay. So first time I met JC, we were attending a friend's birthday. And yeah, so I think definitely the dancing, he's a very good dancer, guys. So he got me on the dance floor at that birthday party, and obviously the looks. And I just feel like he had a different approach from other Burundian guys that I was used to seeing. Yeah, the approach, the way he communicated, the way he was very oriented to details, you know, giving a lot of attention. I don't know. There was something about him that came across like he was a bit, I don't know, different than what I knew.
Yeah. So I think another thing that I wanted to add, at the same party that she's referring to, Steffi was like from a very long flight. So when I saw her, she had no makeup, she was tired, but I think her natural beauty. Let's talk about that. Her natural beauty. So even though she was tired, even though she had no makeup, I could still see the natural beauty and the very...
Carl is being silly, so I think I'm going to ignore the
No.
comment. So he says, wow, so you danced on the first day. And Naomi is right, she's gonna handle him. So we can focus.
The reality was, the natural beauty was the one thing that I really enjoyed. And I think your level of confidence, because for you to come to that party in that state is not something that most girls will do. So you were so confident in your...
Either that or
in your
I don't
pants.
know how to call it in English, gukundi kirori, but we need to speak English for the people.
Yeah, enjoying
I
good
don't know, I
times.
just love the life of the
good
party.
life, yeah.
Yes.
So I really think that I really was attracted to a person that was confident in self, was beautiful, but at the same time, just very comfortable in their own skin. You're very comfortable in your own skin.
And later on in one of the other topic we want to talk about, which is about hardship, we'll talk about how some of the things we got attracted, that got us attracted to each other, ended up being some of the things that we don't like so much anymore sometimes, or that are triggers or causes issues in our relationship. Because I was gonna say, I think personally one of the other elements that attracted me to you was how you respect your family and how close you are to your family. I mean, I'll never forget how after I went back to Canada after that summer holiday in Burundi, and we started chatting on Skype. I met your parents over Skype like very early into, I don't know, we weren't officially dating at the time, but we had started talking to each other, and then just one day your parents came into your room when we were on Skype, and you know, they started talking to me. So I think that was also something very important to me, to see how you behave around your family.
Very true.
Yeah.
I think just to add, the other thing that attracted me was your level of resistance. So when I met her, I was very, I think, intentional. And I was, approaching her, speaking to her, but she was very, very intentional in terms of saying, I do not know you. I might like the way you're dancing, I might like the way you're saying things, but I don't know you. And I need to first go back, ask my brother, ask the people around who you are and what you're about before, giving me the opportunity to even have coffee.
I think that's it in terms of what was the other one. So the second topic we wanted to speak about is what led us to believe this could turn into a marriage. Do you want to start? Like what was the moment where we felt like, there's...
Turning points.
Yes.
I don't think there was one moment that I think gave us that definition of saying this could become marriage. But I think the level of sacrifices. You were very comfortable in Canada with your amazing family. You had a very well-established job, an extremely well-paying job, and you had all the advantages and everything that you could ever wish for. And the moment we started speaking, we realized that we had to spend time together, hopefully in the same space.
Yeah.
And not virtually.
Yeah.
And I think the sacrifice that you made to move from Canada to Burundi.
Although at the time I convinced myself that
it was a work opportunity.
it was the fact that I wanted to go back to Africa at the time.
Yes.
You remember? So what had happened, myself and one of my closest friend, Kulud, always wanted to live together at some point, travel the world, and she had moved into... Kulud had moved to Ivory Coast.
Yes.
Remember? So I then decided, let me start applying for jobs in Ivory Coast. At some point, I also applied for a job in Burundi. In Kenya, and never got any feedback from both jobs application until one of my uncle contacted me and said, you know what? Deloitte is opening an office in Burundi. I think you should, apply for this opportunity. So what Jessie is saying is very true, but I think at that time, I kept convincing myself that I was giving myself a shot at the career
100%.
And giving myself a foot back on the continent, and also giving myself an opportunity to see where this relationship was gonna go. And maybe it's a coping mechanism as women, I don't know, because you're too scared to give 100% to the relationship. So there had to be, I told myself there had to be something else.
Yeah.
Which was
100%.
the job opportunity that came with me coming back.
I'm thankful I didn't see it that way. I actually thought she came for me.
Yeah. So.
But it's okay.
No, but yeah. So
comes out.
I convinced myself it was that. But yeah. I think for me, what made me believe this could turn into a marriage was moving to South Africa.
But I think that's the second sacrifice.
It definitely.
Because for me, where I'm seeing the sacrifices, I'm seeing you coming from Canada to Burundi, getting a pay cut, getting, it was literally like you getting the worst.
Yeah. Yes, because we need to mention that as well. I think the condition in which I went back to Burundi were not ideal.
Yeah.
The salary cut was massive.
Yeah.
What is Naomi saying? The way she packed her bags, quick things, it could only be for Jess. Yeah, so don't throw shades. That's my sister's.
Naomi, thank you.
Nana, don't say everything. But anyways, so the condition I went back to Burundi,
it was difficult.
It was a step backwards in my career.
It was
120%.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that made me realize, and I think why I was lying to myself, and I said this was actually a move for me, was because I saw the sacrifices you were making.
And you're right.
In moving backwards.
Yeah.
And how you even had the opportunity of saying that the job that you had in Canada had a probation of how many months?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah,
Huh?
6 months.
And in those 6 months in Burundi, we realized that you're not going back.
Yeah.
You see. And then after that, going through the most in Burundi, you realized we can't do this. Yeah. And that was the next sacrifice, which was you getting the job in South Africa.
But
and then me being from South Africa, you said, Jess, let's go back there. And it was me literally packing up what I had started in Burundi and Rwanda, going back
to
the unknown.
Yeah. Because you had lived in South Africa being a student,
Yes.
and all you knew from here was the student life. And you know what, guys? I just feel like there's things in life that happen, and you just feel like everything is aligning towards something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say it, because we shouldn't forget that when we were in Burundi, after 3 months in Burundi, I was so miserable in my job, guys. Like, it wasn't even funny. Like, again, like we said, it was a step back in my career. I had to go back to audit, which I hated with all my life. But then again, I said, if that's what it takes to go back, that's what it takes. And 3 months in, I knew I couldn't do audit in Burundi. There was no way. And I remember typing the resignation letter, because remember, like you're saying, I still knew that I could go back to Canada and I had my job waiting for me, because I had a break, a sabbatical leave of 6 months, right? So 3 months in Burundi, I'm like, this is not working. I'm miserable at my job. I'm very happy in my relationship, you know, and it came to a point where, like, what do we choose, right? Because I knew I couldn't be myself in the relationship if I had not been fulfilled as well career-wise. So I typed the resignation letter, knowing that it could potentially mean you and I being in a long-distance relationship. And then what happened was the partner from Deloitte then said, you're not leaving us. We're not going to take your resignation letter. We worked so hard to bring you from Canada. We've been working well together. Let's try to send you to South Africa so that you can be trained on the accounting and financial advisory role, with the idea that that would be temporary, and then eventually I would return to Burundi in that role. That was an audit. So they were willing to somehow accommodate me or allow me to try something new. And for it to be in a country that you had lived most of your life, I mean, I think for me, that's when I started feeling like, okay, God really wants this relationship to work out, you know? Then we moved to South Africa. I come first.
Yes.
And then after a couple of months, you come.
100%.
And really, that's when this relationship became real. Because although we did have extended family, so my uncle's family, your cousin's family, so we do have fairly, direct type of family in South Africa, but outside of that we were alone. So which meant investing all of our time together. Already in Burundi, I think we were spending a lot of time together, but this then became times 100.
Yeah, but I think I would say Burundi was more our honeymoon phase.
Yes.
We could not see any wrong.
Yeah.
Like, we were just in love.
Yeah.
We were having the best time.
Yeah.
Trying to explore, travel.
Yeah.
We were just having the best time.
Yeah.
I think life started when we arrived in South Africa.
Yeah.
And I had no job prospects.
Yeah.
I tried to apply for different posts in the interior design field, and all the offers were just bad,
Yeah.
And then I could not feel, I felt that I could not go too back in my career. So I just started literally looking for different jobs, starting with the tobacco, going into the sales of, soap, going into the sales of things. So I literally hustled, to try to make ends meet.
Yeah.
But then, that was the beginning of the journey.
And when we saw that this could potentially be more, and it leads us well into the next point, point number 3, which are, what are the hardships that we have faced during this journey? And I want to, Jessie, I think for me, hardships are different phases of this relationship.
100%.
But this is, I think, the most important topic. out of the 6 that one of the most important. So what do you think are some of the hardship that you feel?
The hardships we went through.
Yeah.
So the one thing I just want to highlight is when Steffi was actually on her way from Canada coming to Burundi.
Yes.
There was an incident that happened that.
Too bad Garance is not online, but we'll send her the video because she
but
needs to hear
I think
this
the
story.
incident that happened was just a highlight of the hardships that we're even going through until now. So I lied to Steffi. I told her that I was on a plane from Bujumbura and I was going to Kigali in Rwanda. But what was really happening was I was actually on a bus from Bujumbura going to Kigali. And Steffi wanted to contact me because she wanted to buy me a shirt.
No, I called Garance.
Oh, yes,
I wasn't looking
That's
for
true,
you.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think, I actually told you that my phone will be off
Yes.
because of the
You
flight.
being on the flight for the 30 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So then, because I was packing, getting ready to leave Canada, I wanted to call his sister. I told myself, you know what, this is the best time to call Garance, because Garance and Jessie are always together. Like, I always say it, guys, hear me out, I'm not lying. I don't think Jessie would have looked to date anyone or to be in a relationship with someone had Garance not been in a relationship herself. I think he felt left out, so he needed to find someone to occupy his time while the sister is busy with the boyfriend then, who turned out to be her husband now. But so I called the sister because I wanted to find out what was his shirt size. I wanted to bring a gift for him from Canada.
Yeah.
So I called Garance, and then she's like, oh, I'm just from dropping him at the bus station. Guys, can you imagine? You're busy packing a whole life, a whole continent.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? Like, why did you have to make up such a stupid lie? You know, I wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
And mind you, so what's supposed to be a 30-minute flight ends up being hours because it's a bus ride and the network is bad on the way. So I can't really get a hold of him to discuss, like, why did he lie? So you can imagine all those hours. Again, a woman's thing. We will then go on a tangent and start wondering, why did he lie? I started asking myself, like, is there anything that I ever said to make him believe that either I'm materialistic or I care about his financial position, the fact that he should be flying instead of, like, I started to like make up all these stories. But then you need to explain why you lie. Can he explain why he felt he needed to lie?
Yes.
Question from Danny. Danny.
Okay, so I think from my side, I was so focused on who Steffi was in the eyes of others. So people were always telling me how, you know, Steffi is an extreme high achiever. She is a person that is very dedicated in everything that she does. She is winning awards left and right in Canada. She is, you know, she's just an exemplary person in the Burundian community in Canada. And from my side, it's part of what attracted me, but at the same time, I did not fully understand how that was impacting me internally. And what insecurities it was awakening that were already there, that had always been there. You know, so I think the moment, I know that she did not mention anything financial, but I also knew her financial backgrounds from your family, you know? And I think also from my side, it was the idea of almost trying to keep a face, you know, an image that would somehow complement yours, you know. But yeah, it literally was the opening of the can worm, because that lie literally made me think of how insecure I really was. And because I think this is something that it falls into even what we're going through today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think before we jump into the hardship of now,
of course.
or I just want to say, because at the end of the day, it's also a platform for women, that on top of that, those insecurities, it also created some doubts in me that what society was telling me. And when I mean society, I had a couple of months before that incident happened, I had a conversation with one of my aunt.
Yeah.
And she used to tease me all the time about all of, like you're saying, the O words and whatever. And then she told me, I think she came to Canada one holiday, and she saw me that I had bought a car, and then she told me, Steffi, the next thing, if you go ahead and buy an apartment. And that was at the same period I had just been nominated to sit on a board of Desjardins. Like, all of that was building up, and she's like, you combine the board, the prices, the car. If you buy an apartment, you're signing that you're going to end up single. And then I kept, like, I used to tell her, then I don't want those guys. The guy who's not going to be confident enough to stand up to that, then I don't want him. So then that happens.
Yes.
And it was like a stab in the back, because I felt like what she had warned me about was turning reality, when I thought you were different.
Yes. And the craziest part is, for me, I am a person that I felt I was that kind of person. I would approach the woman with the most stability, or the person that has reached the highest goals. And so that is what actually attracted me. It was only when I actually had one person that I appreciated commit, then did I realize that all that I was doing before was a front.
Yeah.
It was a front, because when I had you...
Or maybe it's not a front. Maybe you were trying to convince yourself.
I was, yes.
It's
100%.
not like... Sometimes, we lie to ourselves.
100%.
You aspire to something, and then you convince yourself. But I want to answer... let me see, because I think I saw a question from Sonia. Could you guys please answer how to best navigate that sort of situation? How would you, what advice would you give to other people that face that, lies that are rooted in insecurities?
So I think what happened is you were actually saying that I think that maybe we have started on the wrong foot, and you were actually speaking about staying back in Canada. And then what I did is I said, I convinced you, and I said, hey, my love, it's an insecurity that I have.
So being open.
Yeah. I started speaking to you about it, and I started telling you that it's something that, came from nowhere. And one thing that I started realizing is that communication that we have, or that we still have now, of literally being open about everything and anything, is the beginning of finding the way forward.
Yeah. And I think, I also want to add to what you're saying, that, and that's something that I've been discussing with my girlfriend. So one of the positive element that came out of COVID is, with the lockdown, I've been religiously every Sunday having a long phone call with my best friends, right? So we meet as girls, and really it's our thing. It's Sunday evening, and something that I often tell the girls is, what I like about all the struggles that JC and I are going through is that I feel like it's manageable, because you speak, you are open, you know. So you also took the time to admit that that lie was rooted in those insecurities. You took time to, you know, understand where that was coming from,
But-
and showing those vulnerabilities.
But can I just?
Yeah.
So the craziest part is, we have the conversations, we speak about what we think the issue is rooted from, but I'm still struggling with it until now.
100%.
So I think the one thing that I just want to
100%.
make clear
Yes,
is
yes.
the issue does not eradicate itself
Yep.
after the communication.
Yeah.
So it's just the beginning.
True story. Yeah, no, I agree
Yeah.
with you. And I think let's also mention now the hardship of now.
Yes.
So you spoke about how it started, and we saw those insecurities very early in the relationship. What are some of the things that we struggle today? And maybe also some of the things that have erupted during this lockdown and us being confined into, you know.
Okay, so I think before I start speaking
yeah.
about now,
Yeah.
I would actually like to speak about when we came to South Africa.
Yeah.
So when we came to South Africa, Steffi was the one with the stable income. She was the one with a lot of stability. Yeah. So I came and I was hustling and I was trying to get things,
Yeah.
and I was trying to assist you. So initially, it was that thing of, I am so blessed to have a person or a partner. We were not married. That was able to assist me with the finances. The rent was covered. The car was there. The food was there. Literally, you were covering everything. So when I got there, it was that thing of, man, I'm blessed. And everyone that was close to me, like my parents and my siblings, were saying the same things. But I also want to speak about how quickly that turned into a negative.
Yeah.
Because that started doubting, like I was doubting myself in terms of saying, what is my role as the man in this relationship? You see, and I really started getting frustrated, big time. And I think you can add to that.
100%. And I think, again, a lot of it came as a surprise to me because of the fact that you were coming from an environment. So Jesse is the only boy in a family of 4. So he has 3 sisters.
Yeah.
So he's been raised in an environment with a lot of girls, powerful girls, and like about empowering those girls, you know, telling them to go after their dreams, they're beautiful, they're this. That, and me looking at how close you were to your sisters,
Yeah.
I never thought that, you know, like the traditional roles of what a man is supposed to do to provide for his family was ever going to be an issue in this relationship. Again, based on the impression I had from our, you know, early days dating.
Yeah.
I only started realizing how big that was, exactly what you're saying, when we got to South Africa.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating, obviously frustrating for me, because you're like, what am I doing wrong? And it's not like what's the other option, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's not like downplaying myself
Yes.
was ever an option.
No. So I think that's actually one thing you've always been consistent. From the beginning of this relationship, Steffi is she's a feminist at heart. So she used to always say, Jess, this is who I am. I have been honest from the get-go.
Yeah.
You know? And for me, I felt like I had agreed and I had loved what you're about. But we get into different circumstances or scenarios that I'm starting to change my tone.
And everything
Because-
was playing against us. The fact that you were even working for my family.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that
Of
also?
course,
That
of course.
there's a lot of frustration that you felt during that period, because you also like there's a lot of situation where you felt like they were looking down on you. Right?
Yes.
And So that coupled with, you know, the fact that you're the one who's not with the stable job, stable income was just, you know, creating a tense situation.
100%.
Yeah.
So adding to that, so one thing that I just wanted to just quickly add, when you wanted to go to university for your MBA.
Yes.
So it was a decision that you made, like we both made. Steffi introduced the idea that she wanted to go back to school, MBA. And it was a move that was actually a month after we got married.
Not even just.
Yeah,
I
a few
was
days.
in school 2 weeks after the wedding.
Yes.
2 weeks after the wedding.
2 weeks after the wedding. And for me, when we spoke about it, Steffi has got an ability to structure an argument that is so good that you can't say no. Otherwise, you're going to look like a hater to progress.
Yeah.
You see. So you put the argument of saying this MBA is going to take our household to the next level.
Yep.
You know, it's going to get you a better job. It's going to give us more stability.
And also, I pushed the argument that I want to rather do it now that there's no kids in the
100%.
picture. Remember?
Yeah.
That was also one of the motives.
Yeah. So when you went into it, man, I was like, this is my first duty as a husband, and I'm going to hold you down so well.
Yes.
Which I did.
Yes.
In the first, 4 months?
Yeah.
It was...
Guys, this guy was on campus every day with me, bringing me dinner. Because I used to go to class after work, right? The work never stopped, working full time. Then on campus, it was 2 times a week during the week. No, yes, 2 times during the week and then 1 full Saturday.
Yeah.
So, very supportive guy at the beginning.
Oh.
Then what happened? I actually want to understand what happened. What is the moment that just made you like...
So what happened first was the realization that the campus was filled with like already achieved, like people who had already achieved.
Oh no!
You know? So it was the garage.
Can we tell them about
it was the parking?
The parking story,
the parking.
Guys? Okay, so the parking story, the MBA story was what?
Man.
Then we remember I said at that time he was working for my uncle.
Delivering cigarettes.
Delivering cigarettes, right? So he had this Baki.
So yeah, it's a
delivery car.
Delivery small car.
Exactly. Yeah. So he used to come to campus to pick me up in that car.
Yeah.
Steffi being Steffi, very comfortable.
Of course.
I'm walking out of class, going in the parking, getting into the car. But then I started realizing Jesse had a problem to where he would stop to pick me up because he didn't want people to see the car he was driving. Guys, remember, this is an MBA program. I'm sitting in class with like partners at Deloitte, like people highly accomplished, you know. Some were CEOs, others are owners of their own businesses, whatever. And by the way, remember, they don't know because most people on the chat now live outside of South Africa.
Yes.
So you guys don't know that South Africans love driving nice cars.
Incredible.
Guys, to my Canadian people that are online, you've never seen the cars that we see in the streets in Johannesburg. You haven't seen that. Yeah. So they had the nicest cars in the parking, and then it started affecting Jesse.
Yeah, so basically, Steffi wanted
and he wouldn't understand. Like you wouldn't understand. I wouldn't understand
because
why he was such a big deal.
Steffi used to tell me to come and pick her up at the front entrance.
Yes.
Where everyone is walking out from. So I would tell her, look, I've got a few things in the car. I'll park underground.
Yes.
You see.
Yes.
And when I parked underground,
it used to go
it wasn't
to the
first,
lowest level.
There were 3 bases, and I used to go on the 3rd base. On the 3rd base. Yeah. So that was the first thing.
I missed those times.
Yes,
sorry, I had to laugh.
That was the first thing that made me realize again of the insecurities.
My God.
That was the first thing. But then second thing is even the guys that were actually studying with you
Yes. Oh my God.
started, to
Yeah.
insinuate, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're always supporting, you're always here.
Yeah.
You're always free, yeah?
Yes.
Jesus. And then that turned into something so bad
Yes.
that it was actually, we got to a point where I was emotionally abusive.
Yeah.
You see, so I was emotionally
So
abusive.
it got like he was starting to be very mean towards me, very moody, and I guess, guys, it got to a point where I almost felt like dropping out of the MBA. I remember calling my mom and being like, I literally need to choose between these three. Mm-hmm. There's the job that's taking a lot, there's the MBA, there's Jessie.
Yeah.
And the marriage, and I don't know what to do, and I was crying and I wanted to drop out, and I think I took 2 weeks off from work.
From work.
I took 2 weeks off from work. 2 weeks I didn't pitch to school, and just in hope of us trying to
work it out.
Yeah. But really, guys, and mind you, by that time we've started second year.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
You were halfway in second year. So for me,
it was a lot of involvement.
So I stopped coming to pick you up.
Yes.
You asked me to get you food, and I wouldn't get you food.
Yeah. It was hectic. Yeah. No, it was bad.
And then after that, we got to a point where I used to actually tell you how selfish you are
for what?
For choosing the MBA and for choosing work over me.
Yeah.
You see. And I think that's when we went for couples therapy.
Yes. That's when couples therapy comes. Mm-hmm. And honestly, guys, I know couples therapy or whatever form of therapy is not a topic that we like to talk about. It's something that in our, in the Black community, I was gonna say Burundian community, but to be honest, it's any Black community. Yeah. It's always a taboo. I would recommend couples therapy to anyone. Guys, don't play with those things.
Yeah, but Steph, okay, so the thing is when it comes to couples therapy, the techniques that we were learning were so crucial, guys. So just the idea that the couple therapist basically sits there and she tells you, Jessie, what happened in your eyes? That's it. And then I'll tell her. And then she would say, Steffi, what happened in your eyes? And then she would just tell us not to interrupt each other.
And also, sometimes even before she would ask me or you,
how did I feel?
She first 100%. Asked, how did you feel when you heard Jessie said XYZ?
Yeah.
And then, so simple technique like that, guys.
So it's knowing the situation, knowing how it impacted you, and just getting both sides.
Yes.
So you would start sitting there and you start realizing that something that I was feeling, actually, you felt something similar, or you went through something similar, and we would walk out from there and would feel like we're new people,
just a bit lighter.
Yes.
Just a bit lighter. And in the beginning, being Black people again, you're like, damn, we're paying a lot of money.
Oh, Jesus.
We're paying a lot of money for this thing. And what did she really do?
And it was 50 minutes, huh?
Yes. And then I used to feel like we're paying this person.
And we are the one talking.
To listen to us, so she hasn't done much talking. And for her to literally every time Teboho spoke, she was repeating what we were saying.
I was like,
the hell is like. But so it took time for us to see the value in the process.
It did. But then let me actually add. So after we finished couples therapy and went back into Jessie and Steffi world.
Yes.
Guys.
Yeah.
It literally felt like we learned nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing from that journey with the bAw. Like, we were attacking each other at any like, basically it was whenever I used to say something, because I think Steffi and her family, they enjoy arguing. You know, they enjoy, they really enjoy challenging each other. So when I used to say something, Steffi would be constructing a defensive argument.
Yeah.
And then there's Jessie. I'm from a background where it was all love and all happiness.
Lovey-dovey.
Yeah.
Guys, my siblings are all online. Do you guys see? This is the impact of coming from the Varandereka. We fight and we say things the way they are.
Yeah.
And you had a more softer approach.
100%.
A loving approach.
100%.
That's not like, I feel like even looking at how you interact with your sisters, when you, criticism are done in a different way.
Soft way.
In a very soft way, loving way,
Yes.
you know, to build each other.
Yeah.
We tear down at each
Lord.
other. That's what we do. That's what we do.
Yeah. So we went through the therapy. After the therapy, Steph, we were struggling.
And what, I don't even remember why we stopped, to be honest.
We stopped because I needed to start my own job.
Oh yes, so it got during the therapy journey that we were going through. I think JC kind of got to a point where he said he needed to continue the journey alone, right?
Yeah.
And spend time building and fixing yourself, and not before we we could continue the therapy journey.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak about your journey with therapy, mental health, depression, anxiety? Tell
100%,
them about
100%.
it and how it has affected us.
Yeah, so I think when we were going through the couples therapy, the one thing that we're noticing is a lot of insecurities were coming from my side, and those were the triggers to most of our arguments and most of our disagreements. The things that I loved about Steffi initially when we were dating were the same things I could not stand.
Yeah.
I could not stand the idea that she was, so strong, so opinionated, she was unapologetic. She said something and she stuck to it. And from my side, it was the biggest struggle because I needed a person that could try to understand where I'm coming from. And Steffi she can be tough when she wants to be tough. So that was difficult to me to comprehend. So I then started my own journey, therapy. But sometimes you think that you have improved,
There's up and down.
and then you stop, and then you continue with life. And then when you continue with life, it comes back, So we have had a lot of episodes where I've been having great few months, and then there's a dip. And that dip, I would go back into that emotional abuse, that thing of continuously reminding Steffi that she's not enough, and at the same time that she's failing, because I felt that, and it's a very bad thing because I never had the mentality of this is what a guy has to do, this is what a woman has to do. And it is so crazy that every time I go through my downs, my first place that I run to is that it's that security of knowing that guys were the guys who, who had the respect in the household.
Yeah.
You need to cook for me, you need to take care of me, And then for me,
then you inherit a wife who cannot cook for the life of her, cleaning,
Yeah. So basically, Steffi used to say, I make enough money for me to actually afford a person that would clean and cook.
And I wasn't saying it in a bad way.
Of course,
I think for me, I always said that's why also you leave North America or whatever, Europe, to come back to Africa to have some kind of comfort. Let's be honest with each other, you
100%.
know. So then it means that I wanted to outsource all of that.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
I think how you said it unapologetically, but for me it almost was like a hurt of saying like,
Don't make me look bad
so
in
you
front
don't want to
of
cook for me, my love.
40 people.
You know? And then she would be like, no, but you know this from the beginning. And I would be like, okay, damn. Even, you know, just everything she went through. Yeah.
And what's the next one?
So
Okay,
next
so I
one-
think because of time we can skip the next one. I want us to talk about the family and societal influence and pressure, because it sticks to what we're speaking about now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's speak about how we later on, as this communication grew and we got to know each other better, spent more time together, we started realizing that even that first question about what attracted us to each other,
at the back, yeah, subconsciously,
a lot of it is driven by what we grew up hearing from our parents.
100%.
So speak about it, because you left Burundi younger than I was. So I wanna say I left Burundi, I was 15, which means that maybe my identity or my Burundian identity was probably more formed, right?
Yeah.
But you left Burundi, you were 6.
Yeah, 6.
So I want to understand now how what you grew up hearing from your parents then led to us being together.
So I think this is something that's even deeper than you and me. It goes to the idea of even what you're studying, you know?
Yes.
How you're saying that you wanted to do chartered accounting.
Yeah.
Everything
Inherently
is you trying to please your parents and society. So for me, the biggest thing that I do thank Steffi for, there's a lot actually. So one, she's a very strong person, because I think what I've put you through, if you're not strong, you would have left a long time ago, you see. And second thing, she is willing to have the difficult conversations. So the one thing that I was just speaking to her about, I was saying, do you think it is coincidental that we are together?
Yeah.
You know, like for me, I sat back and I'm like, yes, thank God we met at the party. Thank God I was persistent enough for us to communicate, and we...
He had paused. Sorry guys, do you want to plug it?
No problem.
So it doesn't die on us, guys?
No problem. So the one thing that I wanted just to add on is, I felt from a very young age, even though I wasn't in Burundi, my parents used to just speak about the pride, you know, of their families when they meet, and what they have been able to achieve together, what the life that they've built together, you know, and they would, you know, insinuate things, you know, small things like, you know, how beautiful of kids we are, you know, we're so pretty, and then we would like get compliments from people around us.
You guys look good together.
Not even that, like just how beautiful we were as like kids, you know. And for me, I think the one thing that I always tell Steffi is slowly. The parents were preparing us mentally of just saying, find a person that looks like you, you know. And by me saying that, it's more Burundi has different ethnicities, you know. So it's the same way in South Africa, but we've got like 3 main ethnicities. There's the Tutsis, there's the Hutus, and there's the Tswa. The Tswa, huh? The Tswa. Abatwa. Yeah.
This guy doesn't speak Kirundi.
Okay, I'm sorry. So the reality of that is, my parents indirectly were almost saying, go for a person that looks like you, and for me, because every child's, dream or want is for them. Okay, come on.
How did you say it?
Okay,
Sorry.
I said squaw. Yeah.
Continue.
But like the idea was, as a child, you grow up wanting to please the parents.
Uh-huh.
Very much so.
Yeah. And we met were two parents pleaser that got together.
Big time.
Like, you're bad, I'm bad. We need to be
time,
honest with that.
Time. So with that, I think right now we were in a position where we were questioning it.
And you remember that? Yes. And I'm just thinking about when we sat with your parents even after the wedding.
Yes.
When you hear your dad talking about our wedding.
Yes, the pride.
Yeah. So it's that pressure, but we had to get to a point to say we are really a product of all of that influence. We probably wouldn't have looked at each other if we didn't have all of those things at the back of our mind, marrying someone from back home, from the same ethnic group, and all of that. And it's I wanted to address that because I feel like that's the kind of pressure a lot of African kids are going through.
No, 100%. 100%.
And this is not even just common in East Africa. This is all over the continent, because when I speak to my South African friends, I'm realizing there's always that, Nkosa, Zulus,
Yes.
Pedis, and when they start getting married between each other, among each other, it just creates sometimes tensions around that. And I don't know. I mean, that's a question for all of you guys that are listening. How are we going to do better for our kids?
Exactly.
For me, the conversation needs to go there, because to a certain extent, and I always tell Jessie, we cannot try and change our parents. They are what they are.
Yeah.
We can challenge them, but there's an extent to which we can challenge them. But how do we make this? How do we break those cycles? Because I think it's very damaging.
No, it's for me, I always say it's going to create more problems than solutions. And we need to, I think you and we only got to a point, or I think me especially, after doing everything that I was supposed to do, getting married to a beautiful girl from an incredible family, and also a Burundian girl, and me not being in Burundi or living in Burundi for such a long time, and being able to find a gem like you, that was like a gift from God. But then on top of that, you start realizing that if you continue on that path, even how society sees you, we would be that couple that always hold hands, the perfect couple, in events, dressed up to kill, looking great.
Yeah.
We actually start raising our kids in the same manner our parents did.
Yeah.
And for me, that's when I realized we need to break that cycle.
But you know what? Look at what Liz Kadze is saying. I think she's raising good points. I'm trying to multitask here. She said parents have good intention, which we agree with
100%.
her. They talk sometimes from experience, right? But the new they talk from experience, but the new generation has to change according to their own experience, right? And you know what? To give them a little bit of credit,
100%.
When we talk to our friends that are either interracial or different cultures, and you hear about some of the difficulties that they face, you sometimes feel like, you know what, sometimes marrying someone from back, there's an easy element that come into play, and just from being able to speak the same language. you know. But I'm not saying that should stop people from, you know, interracial or inter-ethnicity, whatever, to happen. No, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
You know, we need to change that. But you start seeing some of the, you know, benefits. Guys, it looks like in 20 seconds the live is going to stop. Let's stop it and then come back quickly. Okay. Sorry, guys. It's not gonna hold. Huh?
No, it's not.
Okay, let's just give them a few seconds to come back. Okay, that's not bad. It's holding. Okay, so let's move on your side. Let me see what the ladies are saying. Oh, sorry. What?
Yeah. So.
Okay, Larissa is back. Larissa, are you giving us the green light to go back? We recorded it, guys. Don't worry. Okay, I think we can.
Can we start?
Please save the lives. We've saved them. We did save them, guys. Can you just do? I just want to see what topic. So we were speaking about the family.
Family and society.
Yeah, and reading the comment that Kadze wrote, which she had a point.
The parents.
But we need to. So she was basically saying we
generation.
need to adapt it to our own experience, which I agree.
So I think the one thing that I just want to add is what Steffi was saying.
Loris is there.
Every time.
My goodness.
Every time that we were having an issue, an internal issue.
Yeah.
And we were fighting.
Yeah.
We were honest enough to actually speak to our parents about it. And automatically, because they were invested in our relationship,
Very
and they
invested.
wanted our relationship to work in any and every way, they would give us the guidance. They would give us that time. So there was that sense of attachment for them.
Yes.
You know, because there was a sense of pride that we were together.
Yes.
Now, if two individuals get married from different ethnicities or different races, I think our responsibility is to be as invested as we would be in their relationship, as much as two people who are from the same ethnicity.
I agree. And to make it comfortable
families.
For them.
Of course.
Think about how sometimes when you have someone from another culture, one of our friends or someone bringing a partner who doesn't speak Kirundi, and you've gone through that, because as someone who didn't grow up in Burundi, you know for a fact that Burundians, we almost like jokes and stories are more fun in Kirundi. So sometimes they don't make an effort when there's someone who doesn't speak the language integrates a group. So I agree with you. It's about being intentional to make it comfortable for that interracial, interethnicity, or whatever is the case, you know. And what about some of the societal influence? Maybe I want to start.
Start.
And this one, guys, I think it's a very sensitive topic for me right now, because, and again, I feel like this platform was created to empower women, Black women, but so I wouldn't feel comfortable not addressing societal pressure that as women we go through. So I've been going through a phase of, obviously people look at us and they're like, you guys have been married for 3 years, so what's next? Right? Starting a family, you know. And when I was doing my MBA, my excuse all the time was like, guys, we're gonna focus on that soon as I'm done with the MBA. That was my excuse. And I think I was trying to convince myself of that. Then the MBA ended. And then now you need to sit with that pressure. And I think, again, because of the pressure of not only our direct family, extended family, society at large, sometimes it's comments that come from colleagues, you know. And it's like, okay, so when is the baby? Blah blah. Okay. So I think in the beginning, right after the MBA, I convinced myself that, oh, Jesse and I have spoken about it, we're ready, we're going to try. But guys, deep down, I was not ready, and I'm still not ready. And I think for society, you saying you don't want to have a child now, it's almost like you declaring you never want a child. Right? There's that, and there's the fact that because I've always been such an overachiever when it comes to my career, the first thing people are going to think is you're not ready to have a child because you're prioritizing your career. When in fact, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that because for me, I think the more and more we started being invested in this marriage and the issues started surfacing, all those issues we've spoken about, the hardship, us going through couples therapy, going through your own individual therapy journey, going through depression, there's anxiety. I realized, guys, I'm choosing not only me, because right now I'm trying to still learn how to navigate this relationship, which comes with that pressure of saying there's mental health involved and you want to make sure that you're both at the right level before venturing into, having kids. But honestly, I feel like, and sometimes, guys, that pressure has gone to my head so much that sometimes it's even in what's unsaid. I don't know how to explain it, because you will meet that auntie, that parent, that what, and sometimes you can see either the disappointment or like they want to say something, but sometimes they don't want to cross the boundaries, but just the fact that they're thinking it, is affecting me. It's a reality, So what? Asking the baby question is so insensitive because you don't know what could be miscarriage, infertility. True, very true.
But also the other thing with the whole baby talk, huh? I think this is also the privileges, when we start speaking about being a man and the privilege that we've had. There is never once that a person has almost insinuated or even made me think that I could be the problem.
True. And guys,
of the baby issue.
Male privilege
so the idea,
at another level.
The idea is always, so what is your wife, waiting for? Is she okay?
Yeah.
So it's always,
yeah.
And the thing is, they always throw that whole thing of like, Jess, you'd be so good with kids.
Yes, they look at you with kids and you love kids. And then in my head, I'm like, did I ever say I don't like kids? I come from a big family. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I just feel like it's not right. It's not right because, they don't realize how it actually affects us. Yeah.
So I think there was a time where Steffi was getting so much pressure from just anyone and everyone around you. And what was actually going on at home between the two of us, me going through a bit of depression, going through the most of just not wanting to work, realizing that I'm not happy doing certain things, and me wanting to just automatically do something else, and which meant staying at home and just thinking, while you were carrying that load, going to work, being consistent in everything. And Steffi initially was at a point where she was not expressing this to anyone.
Yeah.
So she almost felt like she needs to protect me, and she needs to give me an ability to almost heal without external criticism or judgment.
Yeah.
And I also saw how that burden was like literally growing to the point where we were lying almost to
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that we were trying, that we were doing this, and it was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bad because I just feel like someone wrote that comment about what if we were going through, like what if we were trying, you know what I mean, and it's not working because one of us has you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, society needs to fundamentally change when it comes to that. There's no mercy for women, and we need to change that. We need to change that. It comes with us having discussions and being honest with our aunties, you know.
Yeah. So I think, just to clarify, the issue would be, I think, myself getting to a point where I'm mentally more stable, that when I'm doing something that I enjoy, I've been struggling with a lot of things of being inconsistent. So Steffi was very much fearing, if a child comes into the picture, is she going to be the person that is taking care of everything at home, taking care of the kids, basically being a parent of two, like being both the mom and the dad, while I was going through the most. And at the same time, was that thing of you saying you do not want our kids to see me going through what I'm going through, and almost start to have that image of dad going through the most. You see, so
yeah, no, really, the conclusion of that is like, it's people don't understand to what level it affects us, you know. And I know personally it has affected me a lot. I get anxiety over those things, and maybe that's because I care.
yeah.
I don't know how to explain, like, because I've always been a parent pleaser.
Yeah.
To know I'm like, this is the first time that I feel like I'm like standing up for myself and being like, guys, like, I don't feel like it. It's my body, my life. No one is. And mind you, I always tell myself, I think when I was having that conversation with Larissa, she actually brought a good point, because all of that pressure from extended family, direct family, whatever, at the end of the day, we live so far. That would be for a baby that they're going to see how many times a year, Gajes?
Yeah, the sleepless nights would be you.
At the end of the day, we are no one is living this life in South Africa with you and myself, you know. So anyways, so that was the societal pressure element. The last point we wanted to speak about before we finish. Okay, but before we go, let me just quickly scroll and see if they didn't raise a question, and then I'll go on the. Don't know how to do it with. No, it's fine. Oh yes, you're right. Okay, let's see. You can call them while they still being. Check it's your phone.
Yeah, no problem.
Respect should be two-way street regardless of age. Normalize calling. Yes. Okay, I think I'm right with you. I think we can jump into the last topic, JJ. Okay, perfect. Go. Last one. Spiritual journey.
Yeah, our spiritual journey.
I will let you start on the spiritual journey, because I feel like the level of maturity, spiritual maturity, was very different between you and I. You were 100 years ahead of me. So I think this is your topic, and I'll speak about mine.
Yeah, so I come from a very deeply rooted Catholic family. My mom, my dad, the whole family.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that my mom started to, initiate in our family from a very young age. Yeah? And me being a person that loves family, and really I see the importance of family, I started seeing the importance of Christianity in my life. Right? So I adapted it to everything and anything that I was doing. I would automatically, be as involved as I possibly could be. And I used to have a lot of questions. I used to have a lot of doubts. But at the same time, it was that thing of saying, don't ask too many questions, because, too many questions almost seems like you're doubting your faith. And from my side, I used to speak about those questions, but at the same time also know that I will not get those answered immediately. That's what happens when you're a Christian and you have a bit of maturity in your walk with Christ. You realize that through time, some few things will be answered. And I think for me, I just did a lot of things right. From looking for a person that I would, date. Dating was something that was foreign to me, because I realized that could lead into me being tempted to do other things, and I used to hold myself together, and I used to pray, and I used to lead fellowships, and I used to, read the Bible, and I used to be very much in tune with my spiritual self and my spiritual walk. And after that, I think when we got married, we still were on that path. But
because we need to can I mention something?
Please.
When I met you, you were praying, you were going to church every morning at 5 a.m. to the chapel with your mom, your dad, Nagaras.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So just for people to contextualize, for people that when I speak about the fact that you were 100 years ahead of me in terms of the maturity, in terms of the spirit, you actually taught me how to pray.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Continue. So
it was like 5 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
It was once at 12,
sometimes
midday,
not always,
and
the
sometimes in
12
the evenings.
Yeah.
So it's like
sometimes.
Yeah. In Burundi, people are very prayerful.
Yeah.
So I used to be that person that used to be very in tune with my walk with Christ. And then we moved to South Africa, and we were still strong.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the more I was discovering the insecurities I was having, the more I started questioning a lot of things in my life. From how much I like pleasing my parents to how deep is this thing. And I got to a point where I realized that, geez, man, even my belief, I do have a strong relationship with God, but my whole path, was set and maintained because of the love that I have for my parents, and wanting to please them.
And to add to that, for me, the perfect example to portray that was that the moment we moved in South Africa, you never told me, Steffi, let's go to a Catholic church. Remember?
Yeah.
You just tagged along.
We went to Catholic churches, but you slept.
Okay, no, Jess. That's not the truth. You came and I was already going to Rivers.
Okay, true.
Remember Dean showed me Rivers?
Yes.
And I think it was Dean or Donald. So I started going to Rivers. Remember, I came months before you came to South Africa.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that your ability to please people and to tag along, when you moved to South Africa, you tagged along.
100%.
Because Steffi was going to Rivers Church, so you tagged along. So 100%. That's just to portray that, because there was never of, okay, baby, let's stop going to Rivers.
Let's go to a Catholic.
Let's go to Catholic and maintain that routine that I had found you in Burundi with, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think from there, I then got to a point
People are
where...
laughing because of the thing you said about me sleeping in the Catholic church.
But you
I
have,
did,
you
but
have slept quite a few times.
I did, but it has nothing to do with the fact. I just, like they're saying, I sleep everywhere.
Yes, okay. So with the whole walk, it was me realizing that I just please.
Yeah.
I literally just...
So it was deeper than just the
walk.
It was your entire being.
My whole... Yes,
has
exactly.
been about that.
Yes,
and deconstructing that has been very difficult.
100%.
Yeah.
And the moment I started deconstructing it, the moment I started asking myself deeper questions, I think what has happened is my walk with like Christ has like the distance just keeps on growing to the point that I don't go to church. Prayer is limited. I'm really like...
We're struggling.
I would say I'm struggling, but I'm not even saying I'm struggling, because if you're saying you're struggling, it means that you want to go back to that place. And for me, I still need to discover what JC wants to go, or where he wants to go.
Yeah.
Because for me, I struggle so much with the idea of religion. The idea of how...
Turn your camera around so we can see you both. Can they see us both? Okay. Continue, sorry.
So I think for me, it was not... It's not me going back to Christianity. It is me finding a path that will lead me to somewhere that I'm happy. Yeah, because I always tell my parents that yes, we were in Burundi. I was born in Burundi. I was, blessed to be born in Burundi with a Catholic family.
Yeah.
If I was in India, and if I was born in India or in Afghanistan or China, my religious background would be definitely different. Totally different. But I think I don't dismiss what they're doing, because they are all searching for that peace. They are all searching for that happiness. They are all searching for that meaning. You see? Yeah. And then there's history of Christianity. How Christianity was, introduced to our continent as black people. And I have been going through a lot as a black man, realizing that, as a black...
I think people seem to say that your sister asked a question. Is there not a difference between religion and belief? Yeah.
Yes. So
100%.
there definitely is.
100%.
So that's why I think for me, the religion side of things is something that I distance myself from, because religion, for me, it just feels like it's confined, and people are very protective over that symbol. And for me, I feel like I am a spiritual person. I believe that there is a higher power. I really do. I don't feel like I left Christianity and I became an atheist. No.
Yeah.
It's I know there's something bigger and greater.
Yeah.
I sit back and I ask myself, our ancestors, our grandfathers, before the introduction of Christianity, they had something that they believed in.
Yeah.
So,
and I think someone wrote, Jess, someone said, our spiritual walk, so Sonia said, our spiritual walk doesn't exclude us from issues like mental health and people pleasing, someone, I think Kadze wrote something that Liz said questioning is part of growth and is super healthy, so I guess the short of this whole story is it's that questioning phase, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's been making it, can you hold it for me? That's been making it difficult for you to even pray or go back to church. And
yeah, you can just come
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
been I think for me it's been really difficult. And I think the more I go through what I'm going through, which is like the depression and the hardship and everything, sometimes I do ask myself, that question: is it because I have distanced myself from my walk, and is this maybe a
Yes.
consequence of me distancing myself from that walk? And but I have to continuously fight that thought, because I know that this is a difficult path that I'm going through and that I needed to go through.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this thing would awaken some other time later on. Yeah. Tell them about your beautiful work.
The reason why I say that you were like 100 years ahead of me, guys, I feel like every time so I was gonna say, for me, the reason why I feel like I wasn't even at that much at a level of understanding that was as deep as yours was, number one, I had never, my mom has offered me so many Bibles. I cannot even count them. I think growing up here and there, she was offering us Bibles, but I don't even think that I've really taken the time to read the Word of God by myself. So then there was also that questioning of saying, was I going to church because that was the good thing to do? Growing up, we used to go to church with my mom. That was way before my dad decided to be saved and start praying himself, So, and there was like a lot of confusion, I guess, growing up, and my siblings are online, they can speak about it. But so my dad was Catholic, and so which means that I was baptized in the Catholic Church, and my mom is, what do you call Protestant?
Born again.
Is it born again in English?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever you call it. I don't know what's the word in English. Guys, help us. Because I have the word in French. And then growing up, my dad was not going to church. So we do all of this, and in school, I was, how do you call confirmation?
Confirmed.
Yeah, confirmed, learning. Okay, so Danny says it's called Protestant.
Oh, Protestant. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's called Protestant as well. So my mom was Protestant, my dad is Catholic. My dad doesn't go to church, but yet we still need to follow all of that to be baptized, confirmed. Then, there's things that I wasn't understanding when we were growing up. Even in the way that we were praying in the evening with my mom, we would do Notre Père, our Father, and then when it would be time to do Hail Mary, she would keep quiet because they don't do it. Very confusing, but anyways, we used to pray with my mom every night. Then she would take us to church with her. Mind you, I'm still learning all the learnings to go and be confirmed. Yet on Sundays we go to a different Anglican, more specifically, so Norette knows because we prayed the same place.
No.
So then my mom would take us there on Sundays. So grow up, we moved to Canada. When my mom moved to Canada, we started going to church with her, which was a born-again church. Then I moved to South Africa and I'm by myself. And I think that, again, we do what
we're comfortable with,
which in my head on Sundays in Montreal, I used to go to that church at Berry-UQAM with my mom. So I continued. I remember, I think I asked Donald, I can't remember if it's Donald or Dean. Then they told me about the church they were going to, Nava Olivier, and then I started going there, liked it. So it was like 100 times better than the one I was going to Montreal with, because of, again,
the facilities.
You always say that I just like the way they were organized, the way they praised, the praising
and worship.
Praise and worship and everything.
The visual effects.
But I started questioning myself as well too, about my journey. Like, is it just about showing up on Sundays and having fun? what do I do between Monday to Sunday? What do I
Yeah.
do to feed that spiritual, And again, why I remember specifically always saying that you taught me how to pray, for me it was very methodical, like very organized, because that's how we used to pray with my mom at night. Dear Lord, I want and then you looked at me one day and you said, Steffi, you can have a conversation with God. Like, stop being so structured, be comfortable. Pray like you're having a conversation with God. And so then I started being more comfortable. But I think when you started going through your phase of questioning, because mine wasn't as rooted as yours, I follow the wagon, let's say.
Yeah.
I fell off because of that. But then lately, I've told you, I've been feeling so there's also that element of being
wanting
empty
to go back
and wanting to go back. And I had decided, you know what, at the end of the day, if there's one thing that my parents' spiritual journey has taught me, it's everyone has their own individual one. How my dad, it took him so many years before he started being the way he is now. I then said, I don't have to go through, I can go and search for my own answers. And
100%.
If I feel empty, then let me go back, and search for that. So I guess it's just still a phase of,
And I think the one thing that also for me, that's a bit difficult, is I am all about
togetherness.
the togetherness.
Yes.
So for me to have walked away and for Steffi to have joined me, there was a bit more power, into me standing for this thing and saying, we're definitely questioning our faith walk.
Yeah.
But then the moment Steffi decides now that she wants to go back, that's going to be a very important time for me. Because I could quickly also just come back with you and I can just go back to my old routines. But I still know internally that there's still a lot of unanswered things, you see. So it's going to be a struggle, but I hope that I'll overcome.
Yeah. Guys, I think we've spoken about all the points we wanted to speak about in terms of marriage and our journey. Do you lock down quickly before we finish?
Yeah, I think you need to actually finish a few things that you want. Like the weight thing.
Oh, yes. Okay, guys, while I have you, so there's other topics. Okay, before I start something else. Okay, let me just quickly see and just double checking. I think they making more comments than questions. My brother is so stupid. Did you just Google that sentence? Okay, anyways. So, why Jessie saying, okay, so while we're still on the live, just for a few more minutes, there's other topics that I wanted to, that I had put on the program that I was going to speak about, because again, it's a platform for women. And I like the fact that you're here because you're going to chip in on that topic, the body positivity journey. It's been a difficult one for me, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
I was actually about to joke about it, but then I didn't say
No, you can, but guys, it's been a journey. And
so, please. Seconds, huh?
Yeah.
Just the time it took, for her to find an angle,
Today to film, it's crazy. Let me tell you guys. So what we mean by body positivity, maybe let me put the context.
Yes.
So since we got married, I've put on a lot of weight. You did too,
yes.
But the reality is it doesn't look the same. You were skinny.
Oh, Lord.
Jessie. Danny, my skin is glowing. What lotion? I'll show you. I'll send you a picture, Danny.
Yeah.
But clearly we need this to continue on YouTube episode, Larissa. Okay, so just to wrap up the body positivity one. So since we got married, I put on easily 20 to 25 kg, right? And obviously it's been very difficult for me to face that and to see my body transform in that way. Obviously you don't feel okay. You don't feel okay with the comments. That again, going back to what we said earlier about, for example, how your family tackles an issue versus my family.
Of course.
Guys, my family is brutal, like brutal. But I'm not saying it in a mean way, because at the end of the day, I think it has built me to make me
A
stronger.
thick skin. Yeah. She gives you
Right?
a thick skin, yeah.
But it's not easy to hear them make comments about your weight and all of that, you know. And so it's been very difficult to face people around us reaction to the weight gain,
Yeah.
but also me internally. But then you know what's funny? When were we going through pictures, and then I realized, guys, this thing is deeper. It's deeper. Why? Even when I was the size I was at my wedding,
Yes. Yeah.
or even smaller,
Yeah.
because there have been instances in my life that I was smaller than that weight I had at the wedding. I've never been happy.
Comfortable. Yeah.
I've never been comfortable in my skin. And it was that realization of saying, now I look at the pictures and I'm like, oh, in 2016, that was like the way I looked. That's what I liked. But then I realized no, because in 2016 I didn't feel good, you know. And the fluctuation of my weight, battling with, you know, weight loss, I feel like I've been on a diet my whole life. Every 6 months easily I've been on a diet ever since I've been probably 16, 17. I think from the moment I started being conscious of my body, right? And it goes as far back as even when I moved to Canada. Then we landed in a boarding school with Carl, where yes, we there was a few Africans, black people, but he can correct me if I'm wrong, but we were probably 20 at most, right? So you come in, the body, the shape of your body is different. That's when I started realize, oh, I actually have an ass, you know, which I didn't know in Burundi. Maybe I knew, but it wasn't a big issue because all my friends did as well.
Yeah.
Then you go into that environment, and I think it's been, you know, just a cycle of me not being happy. And I think what are they saying? I think what made it worse this time was because I knew that the weight gain was emphasized by me not being in the right place, like emotionally, because of everything that we were going through, you know. And I'm an emotional eater, so what am I gonna do in that period of stress? I'm gonna eat, like I'm eating crap, chocolate, cakes, blah blah blah, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And you're like, internally you're not feeling well, externally you feel like everyone is looking at you. It's been, you know.
So I think, can I add something?
So Daniela says another topic that touches men privilege, comments and remark towards women are just too much. Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
I think that's what I have to speak about.
Yes. Yes.
So Steffi has been very honest with me when it comes to her weight issues. And during our honeymoon stage, I used to be that motivator.
Yes.
You know, that person that literally says, my love, if you want, we'll go for morning walks and we'll go for evening runs and we'll do things that will allow us to just like look better. And I was the most encouraging partner you ever would wish for, you know. And we speak about this because we also say when we even get a child, the chances of recovering from that is going to be even more difficult. But as much as I can be encouraging,
And
yes.
can I just before? Sorry to cut you. I'm just realizing because Danny is here, and I'm remembering to that of saying when you have a child you'll never recover. Her brother, who's very close to me, like Frank used to tease us all the time growing up, me and Danny, that we would end up like our moms. So you see, all of that also plays in your mind because you're like, that's people have already planned that.
Psychological scars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to get to a point
Danny's
where
laughing. She knows I'm right.
I used
She
to
knows
get
I'm
to
right.
a point where I used to encourage Steffi for us to do, gym,
Yeah.
runs and everything.
Yeah.
But then the biggest issue was I'm an extremist. So I would tell Steffi, my love, let's go to gym and we'll actually work out together. And then for me, my biggest objective is result, an instant result. So I would go and I would say, instead of doing like 10 sit-ups, and I'll say like, today we're doing 100, from like not doing it at all to like doing 100. And Steffi and I used to always fight.
Yeah.
Because she would also she always say, Jess, I need to do it at my own pace and I need to do it for me. You see. And for me, I also sometimes thought I was actually helping her.
Yeah.
But indirectly, I started realizing that it was also impacting me. You understand?
Yeah.
What I mean by impacting me,
Yeah.
I mean, I used to tell her, like, have you seen how amazing that girl is? Have you seen how beautiful, if you're a bit smaller, we could be doing that and this and that and this. And then I started realizing that the reason why I'm motivating and I'm pushing her as much as I do is because I actually want her to look a certain way.
Yes. Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
That was a big, like, crazy, moment.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, as much as I could be the angel to her sister whenever she needed assistance, whenever we were fighting, or whenever I would wake up on a bad day, first thing I would do is I would stop everything sports related. After saying that, I would actually start attacking her on the one thing that she's most vulnerable on. So I used to literally use something that she spoke to me from a vulnerable place, and I used to use that as my nuclear bomb.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to like throw it
Yeah.
anytime, like things. I would be like, okay, cool, I wonder how this, and I used to say things that are so hurtful, and I know that was gonna get her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was.
Yeah. And it was difficult, guys, because sport has never been part of something that comes naturally to
For
me.
you, yeah.
So, sport is the one thing that I've always wanted to do as a collective.
As a team,
with friends and whatever. So when I'm losing you as my partner, motivator, let's go for a morning run and everything, it destabilizes me because I haven't built enough in me to be the kind of person that wakes up and does it by herself and says, it doesn't matter if Jessie doesn't come with me, I'm gonna go. And I need to work on that because I shouldn't be putting pressure on you and saying, when you don't come with me, that's how I feel, I should invest more work in learning how to do it by myself. So that's about the body. Oh no, but maybe one thing though, I think somewhere, somehow in 2019, something changed.
Yes.
Where I had like a moment of saying, I think those that have seen my stories today, I spoke about self-care. Like, I spoil myself, guys, I'm not even gonna lie. I take myself to a fancy spa, treat myself the whole day, then decided I'm going to do my nails every 3 weeks. My nails were done, not like today, guys. This is lockdown result. My nails were done all the time. And then I found one shop that I loved and that I felt was doing beautiful clothes that also were going with the shape that I have now.
100%.
And I started changing my entire wardrobe.
Yeah.
I think if you go in, I wear poetry almost every day. Even people at the office would see it, a certain type of skirts, tops, and I started uplifting myself. And guys, it has changed a lot. I mean, I'm not there yet. Like Jessie said today, I was like, struggling. What angle do I put so that my face doesn't look poofy and whatever. So I was like going through anxiety this morning to find how do I sit on the couch and all of that. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely not where I was end of 2018, for example. Like it's a journey that's going hopefully like this, that I'm improving, I'm learning how to dress how I am today. And saying it doesn't mean I'm still not trying to lose weight, guys. But it just means that I've learned how to appreciate and feel beautiful the way I am today.
100%.
And I think you can testify to that. I think there's an attitude that changed. I would buy myself the heels that I want to buy, etc., etc. So that's it, guys. I think we spoke a lot.
Yes, no, we did.
We almost 2 hours, guys. We spoke a lot. I don't know if maybe there's 1 or 2 questions.
Larissa's question and stuff.
Larissa's question is gonna be another one, but let's do it quickly. It's not gonna. Okay. Last question. What was Larissa's question? I sent it to you, Jess. Have you ever faced challenges around your identity, having lived outside Burundi for so long? Oh, Steffi, I asked questions in the... You see, they're teaching us things that we don't know.
And the function.
Yes, I think it's here, but let's answer.
Okay, cool.
Larissa's one. Have you ever faced challenges around identity? Guys, it's a difficult one. Yes, the short answer, Larissa, definitely felt some identity crisis. And it comes from one, you try and evolve in a country like Canada. You're being raised by parents that come from a certain world and certain things are important to them. You then goes in exposed to a world where I don't know if we can call them liberal, but Canada, the US and whatever have another, form of culture, the way they approach things. So there was always a conflict on how to balance, still feeling like I'm Burundian and I'm following the Burundian culture, but ultimately you're bound to change, right? The environment is going to change. Larissa, where I realized that identity crisis could challenge really hit me hard was in 2014 when I moved back to Burundi. Because all of a sudden I felt like I couldn't even identify with the people that I was friends with growing up in Burundi. And because we've evolved and I was gone so long, but yet I used to go back to Burundi every 2 years on holidays, and those are my friends and we're going out. But I don't know the topics, how we see life. So I used to battle with that and be conflicted with, because I love them. They're my childhood friends and they are what I identify as what was supposed to be my identity, But you get there and it's difficult. So the transition was difficult. And then you come to South Africa. Guys, the whole integration in South Africa could be another topic for another day. We'll find a way to address that. Navigating. I've never realized the whole I'm Black and the challenges of or waking up to the challenges that Black people face until I was in this country. Only then did I start playing back certain instances and things that were happening in Canada and that were going over my head. because there's something that had not been switched on in my brain.
Yeah,
And we've spoken about that.
No, 100%.
And
I think
I was oblivious to a lot of things. Or maybe I was living in a bubble.
no, but also
Like-
I think one thing that South Africa did,
Yes.
it makes you realize how privileged we are.
We 100%, 100%.
Because as much as you're black,
yes,
the struggles that we are going through
I agree.
are
Yeah.
nowhere close
Yep. Yep.
to the struggles of
Yeah.
most South Africans out there.
Yes. Yes.
And the worst part is you start identifying yourself more with the white
Yes.
encounters
Yes.
than South Africans.
Yo, guys, no, this I don't even want to venture into that one because we could sleep here. There's 5 questions. Oh, okay. Comments. Importance of culture and language. How will you make sure to transmit the culture language to the next generation? Yo, that's a tough one. There's so many questions. Do we take a screenshot? We'll address them because I think we really need to leave now.
Yeah.
Let me do this. Perfect. Guys, we love you. Thanks for following. You know what? Thanks to the ladies that own the Black African Women in Christ account. Thanks for inviting me. I hope the discussion about marriage, relationship, and the question we just answered now gave you guys a little bit of a glimpse into the challenges that we're facing. But I've loved spending the day with you guys, and I will definitely save it. So thank you guys.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Are you sure you